morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna. Brandenburg is the 26th day of March 2025, and welcome to our show today. So we've got a lot to talk about this morning because I've been off for a while again. I was down in Mar-a-Lago. I was in several different places. I got to be where Sarah Palin was to meet with her down in Florida in 2 different occasions, which was kind of cool. And I just want to say hi to all of the Florida Republicans down there, which was not fun, and constitutionalists. I mean, it was a good trip, and there's just a lot to talk about. The event at Mar-a-Lago was about raising money for a no-kill animal shelter, which was absolutely phenomenal. And there were so many good people down there that really care about animals. I mean, really stole my heart. It was awesome. So today we've got Liberty Essentials on. I'm going to bring on Karen and Ralph. Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So yeah, I wanted to talk about the fact that it's been a little random. Bill, this morning I found out that Bill's new son, the new little guy, William III, is in the hospital with Megan, and he caught something pretty serious. I think he's improving a little, but they put a feeding tube in him yesterday. So I'd like to ask everybody out there, please pray for their family and for William and fast, speedy healing and such, because it's was a little sad. So, and it sounds like Bill and the rest of the girls have whatever he had too, some sort of a respiratory infection. And, you know, it's really going around. A lot of people I know have had this, and it lasts for like, I don't know, a month. It's awful. Have you guys heard about this?
Yep, I've heard of it, and I've had it.
It sounds like whatever I think we went through, but it was a while ago, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've been fighting something now for almost 2 months.
Okay, so like in our house this morning, we started up an ozone and an ozone as well as a I got to think what it is, a generator, and then ionizer, and I couldn't believe how quickly it changed the quality of the air. It was really amazing. So this morning, anyhow, we're sans Bill this morning. I hope everybody out there is staying safe, and we're going to be talking about a different topic this morning, which is going to be, it's something we wanted to talk about anyway. Ralph and I have had lots of discussions on this because we're both nerds, okay? And a lot of the people that I know are pushing XRP and Bitcoin and such. And I got to tell you, not that I'm against an alternative solution to, say, the Fed right now, which is completely unconstitutional, and the fiat currency we have going on there, it needs to be addressed. It has to be addressed because it's not in our hands. But my concern is that Bitcoin isn't much better. It really, there's so many deficiencies in Bitcoin and in any of the cryptocurrencies that I think that we need to be aware of at least the risks that are out there, including, you know, say like blockchain, as well as and what the problems with blockchain is. Now, I'm not totally against it, okay? Just so everybody knows. But I'm also not going to be stupid and sit here and go, yay, it's crypto, yay, it's blockchain, and just jump in with both feet and watch a situation that can be easily, and I mean easily, taken over, corrupted, and have a problem with it. So I thought we would get on this morning and talk about some of the problems with crypto. And quite honestly, it's kind of just another fiat type currency. And the only reason why any of this stuff works is because people believe in it. That's it. It's not a tangible. People say, well, you know, it's backed by gold. Okay, is it? And I think we need to ask those questions. And how quickly can that link between the two of them be broken? Because it was in our currency. It was in the dollar. When we got off the gold standard, they broke it. They with a stroke of a pen, they basically pulled any tangible backing. So with that said, let's jump into this and let's talk about what our concerns about Bitcoin and all the other cryptos, the XRP, whatever they are, okay, and the blockchain type format of these. How the devil? I'm gonna let you talk about it, Ralph, because you're gonna get everybody out there. You're gonna get fire hosed. This is gonna be a nerd fire hose day.
Yeah. So, and what you mentioned too about having crypto that's gold backed, because there are several like companies that are trying to do like dollar equivalent crypto or gold backed equivalent crypto or whatever. It still doesn't solve the underlying problem. Even if you trust that that company has as much, in reserve as what they say they do, it still doesn't solve the underlying problems of some of the security vulnerabilities of blockchain technology itself. So, kind of the idea behind this is going to be a fairly high level overview of it. There's a lot more details to blockchain, and there's variations between blockchains, but they all generally run on the same kind of technology as Bitcoin, the blockchain system. And more or less the way that that works is that it's a distributed ledger where you have a record of who has transferred some quantity of blockchain currency. I'm going to pick on Bitcoin for right now, just because it's one that everybody pretty well knows. So when I say Bitcoin, this applies to pretty much all blockchain crypto. But for example, for how blockchain works at a kind of a core level, you've got, person A and person B, right? Person A wants to transfer $5 of Bitcoin to person B. So what they do is they put that transaction onto the blockchain system, the Bitcoin system, and say, okay, guys, person A is transferring, here's my account. I am transferring $5 of Bitcoin to person B. Now, what happens then is that the entire network basically votes on whether that's valid or not. So you have to reach a quorum of nodes, more or less, that say that yes, this person has contacted us. We know that they're legitimate. We know they have this much in their account to be able to transfer it to person B. And so, yes, we're going to allow this transaction to go through. Once you have that consensus of everybody voting on it, that yes, this is an okay thing to do, that gets recorded. And now person B has that amount in their account. Okay. So after a certain number of those transactions go through, then those are finalized onto a block. And that's just kind of where blockchain comes from, is that once you close a block, that's like a block of transactions that everyone has agreed on as valid. That block gets closed, it gets signed, and you start working on a next block that's chained off of that previous block. It makes it much harder to alter previous records once the block is closed. And in a perfect world, it's not a bad way to do a fiat currency. You've got everybody that's effectively equals, because there's no central server for these. They're a peer-to-peer protocol. And so everyone running a Bitcoin client is effectively a banker themselves. In a way, you get to vote on the transactions of others and whether they're valid or not, whether they agree with the version of the blockchain that you have on your computer. And in a perfect world, it's not a bad way to go. You have people that you have a way to be able to move currency around outside of any centralized system, and it's managed by the people actually taking part in it. It's a good idea.
Theoretically, it's a great idea, but as in all things, I think we need to go down, well, what are actually the risks? Because it's gotten so cool that people are like, oh yeah, it's a new thing, I'm going to put all my money in crypto and that sort of thing. And it's like, hold on a minute. Let's actually look at some of the things that could really torpedo this thing, and quickly.
Yep. And that's where the problems come in with this. To compare it with a fiat currency, there are a couple of differences, that one of which this solves. And Bitcoin, you have a limited number of Bitcoins that can be, in their terminology, mined. And basically that's what it is you try and find a random number that someone else hasn't already found. And once you find that random number, then you own that random number. That is your
pulled right out of the air.
Yeah, it's still a fiat currency in that there is absolutely nothing backing this. It only works because people believe it works. Now, the thing that solves is that you don't have one central mint like you do with the Federal Reserve. So it's a fiat currency that can't be minted and overwhelmed by one person in the system necessarily. So it solves that. The problem that you have with it, though, is that because it's a consensus-based protocol, whoever has, if you have enough nodes on the network to be able to force like 51% of the vote, then you can go back and rewrite history and move money back and forth between accounts at will. Because now you're the one that is basically the quorum on the network. And so if you wanted to take money from one person or give money to another person, you could rewrite history and do that.
So let's just say that George Soros decides to spin up some crypto piracy organizations like he did with Open Societies and BLM and Antifa, and turns it into a terrorist organization.
Yep. Then
you're voted out, right?
You're voted out. And you could lose everything in your account because they could just go in there and take whatever's in your account and transfer it to whatever account they want. And that's kind of one of the reasons I've always suspected, no one's ever confirmed this because of course they wouldn't, but I've suspected that that's one of the big reasons for the big data center facility that the NSA was constructing out in Utah several years ago. Because it was right near the beginning of where crypto was really starting to take off. Was they built this massive computing facility. And I tend to think that a lot of the reason for that was probably so that they could spin up a whole bunch of Bitcoin nodes inside of that facility and outvote everybody on the network. And that would allow them to skim off parts of people's accounts or anyone that hadn't moved any Bitcoin around in a while that might not notice it if they took Bitcoin away from them. And effectively allow them to self-fund by overwhelming the Bitcoin network. And again, I pick on Bitcoin just because it's one everybody knows, but these same weaknesses apply to pretty much all of the blockchain-based cryptocurrencies out there. And so in a perfect world where you don't have one massive entity that could potentially spin up enough nodes to control the network, in a perfect world, yeah, not a bad way to go. Not an investment by any means. It was intended as a cash replacement, not as an investment. And as a cash replacement in a perfect world, it's not a bad way to go. But it has gotten so warped from its original view, number one. And number two, we have entities out there that would gladly try and pool a bunch of resources and take control of the whole network to make it so that there is a massive weakness there.
What's really funny is I think that a lot of people think, oh, this is great. This is a decentralized type of currency and such. Well, yes, but it's like everything else. They have more money, more resources, and more time to basically screw with all of us than we do individually. And that comes from, say, oh, I don't know, like the NSA, or from the forces that be within our nation or in other nation states. They could, there's multiple ways that this whole thing can be attacked that I'm fundamentally concerned about. Now, I think Bitcoin is like $88,000 right now. It's up to that. I mean, it's had tremendous growth, very tremendous growth. So if a person wants to speculate, then potentially, but there's a risk.
Yeah, if you want to just speculate on it, sure, go for it. If you feel like that's worth doing, but effectively you're investing in what's pretty much a pyramid scheme. The only reason why it continues to grow is because people want it to continue to grow and promote it to be able to make money off of something that is effectively fictitious. And this is, as I see it, the only people that are actually making money off of crypto are the exchanges and the speculators. The exchanges, because they charge a fee per transaction, And in a lot of cases, it's a fairly hefty fee compared to the value of anything. So they're making money, and they can actually make real money immediately. So they can legitimately make money off of this, off of people speculating on it. The other people that are doing the speculation stuff, they're really only making money off of the hype and the hope that the other people joining it will see it as valuable enough to be able to convert it to a different type of currency that's more useful. So yeah, there's major weaknesses of it. And even for the ones that are gold backed or silver backed or whatever, generally those ones are blockchains that are run by a particular company. And the same vulnerability still holds in that if you are participating in that network, and if they allow regular people to participate in that network, I should make that disclaimer, because some of these, if they ran the blockchain entirely within house, okay, that gets rid of that weakness. But at that point, why would you use blockchain? Just use regular accounts as if it were a bank. So on the premise that they have their customers and anyone else out there being able to run their own blockchain nodes for that gold-backed or silver-backed blockchain, you still have the weakness that an adversary with a large amount of computing power could come in there and overwhelm the network and vote themselves the contents of everyone's accounts. And then, since it's gold or silver backed, redeem that with that company for the gold or silver and siphon it all off.
I met a couple of people that have developed their different crypto systems. In fact, there's a guy that I met when I was at CPAC, and his name well, I'll have him on someday. And his system appears to be a little different than the traditional way, but I don't understand it enough to articulate it on how he actually created this and how it actually works. But everyone seems to get a piece of whatever he's done on every step along the way. So it's a little different than the transaction fees that you would normally get. It's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna have him on and talk about it someday. But yeah, and so now let's talk about the other vulnerability, and that would be the power grid. And we have talked about that ad nauseum on here because we have 12, I'm going to say, critical points of infrastructure in our electrical grid in the United States. And if somebody decided to take out 9 of them, we're done. The United States will not have enough power to reboot the system. And we've never gone from a dark start or a black start. So there's another concern, because when you think about it, nine points of failure out of 12, and the United States is basically in the dark.
Yep.
For a very long time.
And we no longer have the ability to rebuild those transformers in this country either. Right now, I think we have to order, because those are some of the big transformers. They're not a standard model. They're not all standardized, so you can't just keep a stock of them somewhere in case one of them gets taken down. And on top of it, those ones, we don't have the ability to make those in the US. Most of them we have to import from like Germany. And the lead time on them is, from what I've heard, about 18 months. So you think about that, where the power grid could be out for 18 months. Can you withstand having no power anywhere surrounding you? This is not just about you, but no power anywhere surrounding you for over 18 months. And that means none of the gas station pumps work. That means none of the water pumps work. That means none of the sewage lift pumps work. Can you survive without all of that?
Very, very few people could.
And that's a major vulnerability.
So anyhow, we wanted to talk about that today, because that seems to be, I don't know what it is. I'm going to just say it right now. I just see such a spiritual problem in our nation. People are so focused on money and wealth and that sort of thing. It's like, I feel like we've got a spiritual issue here in um, in a wrong focus, instead of focusing on the real treasures in our lives, which are each other, and learning to work together and get along, because nothing's assured. There's nothing here that's assured from one day to the next.
Yeah. So there's a couple of major vulnerabilities in Bitcoin too. One of them is the risk of forking, and that is where basically you've got the blockchain, right, which is supposed to be one block chained off of another block, chained off of another block in a sequence of one of them at a time, right? Well, the problem that you've got is that because you've got a voting membership, it's quite easy to take one of those blockchains and have, say, a third of the people go one way with it and 2/3 of the people go another way with it, and fork that blockchain into two separate competing ledgers where they're incompatible with each other. But you have somebody that says, this transfer from A to B is valid, and somebody else that says this transfer from A to B is invalid. And the only thing keeping that from happening is the consensus of the nodes saying that this is the authoritative one that we all agree on, the version of this events that we all agree on, and the other one is invalid. And this kind of thing has happened before. This is not something that's just a theoretical. But blockchains can be forked if you've got a large enough population that gets fed up with one or just decides to go their own way. And that can be absolutely disastrous to that particular blockchain, because now you don't know who to trust as to which version of that blockchain is more authoritative. Where is the value? Is it on chain? Is it on chain, the chain of them that the people in group X are working on, or is it the chain of them that the people in group Y are working on? Which one is correct? They might both be, and in that case, whose account do you believe? Any crypto that you have in one might be on the other. It might not. Is it worth anything at that point? Because it's only worth as much as the people in that same network are willing to put on it. So that's another issue, is the forking issue. And then another issue that you've got is the people that say that blockchain is anonymous. And it is not. It is basically it's almost the opposite of anonymous, really, because you can trace every single Bitcoin all the way back throughout its history through every account that it's been through. And so because of that, if at any point you have interfaced with anything with Bitcoin, whether that's to buy Bitcoin in a crypto exchange, or to sell it, or to use it to pay for something, anywhere where it's touched the real world, that is a point where someone could figure out, oh, this person used this amount of Bitcoin and it came through this Bitcoin wallet, and track down exactly who had that, who they've been able to interface with, who they've taken or given Bitcoin to, all the way throughout the chain. The only way that Bitcoin can stay truly anonymous is if you have an account that has never touched the real world, which is really the utility of that is, even less.
What would the point be then?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you've never touched the real world with it, then there's not a whole lot of point. You would have had to have either mined a Bitcoin yourself or taken a Bitcoin from somebody else. And at that point, you've already left a record. And it's not like that information goes away. That is permanent on the blockchain, and that's that's inherent to the design of it. And there's good utility for blockchain technology. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing inherently. It's just there's the application of it as it stands right now, with everybody using it for basically these speculative pyramid schemes. That's where I have more of a problem with it. It's not a bad thing as like a way of doing data storage in a way where you don't necessarily trust all of the people involved in it 100%, but you trust that on the whole, more than 50% of them are going to probably cooperate because it's in their self-interest. Okay, that's not a terrible thing if you're trying to do it as just a shared database or shared data storage. But once you start using it as something where there's a great amount of perceived wealth involved, and you have an adversary that has effectively unlimited computing power to do what they want with it, it starts to get the vulnerabilities pile up quickly.
Dr. David is on here, and he said that it really doesn't matter because even our money in the bank is digital, which he's got a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole system right now is completely based on our belief in it, and that there's even any money really in the banks. They don't keep it really on hand. It's all digital. And when you look at the credit card purchases too, credit card purchases is just a digital currency.
Yeah.
Nothing ever leaves hands.
And additionally, a lot of the banks don't even have as much, as you said, there's not enough in the banks to back what they say we have in our accounts.
I think there's nothing there, quite honestly. I mean, they don't keep anything in the banks. It's it's theoretical, which goes back to what we were talking about last week with the mortgage scams that's going on right now, where they literally mortgaged all of our homes at a 20-to-1 ratio, which means they just basically said they're ours and we can do whatever we want with them.
Yeah, and especially a lot of the banks that are federally insured, any of the FDIC-based banks, as far as I can tell, pretty much none of them keep enough money on hand to be able to pull your money out of the bank. That's why there has historically been such a concern about having a run on a bank, and I mean, you see that quite badly right now in China. What happens with that? With people trying to withdraw money that they've been paid by their jobs out of their own account, and only being able to withdraw a certain amount of money per day, no matter how much they have in their accounts. And there's nothing really stopping that from happening here. It's just people's belief that it exists.
Well, Love just popped up and said my son withdrew around 3,000 last week, and the banksters questioned him what he was going to do with it. Oh yeah, if you take out any amount of money, they want to know what you're doing with it. They limit how much you can take out on any given day, which is a bunch of BS. It's our money. They don't have the right to do that, but they're doing it.
Well, and they're required to report on transactions over $10,000. And the interesting thing about that is that they put that limit in back in, I think it was the 70s, and they did that without any thought to well, I'm sure thought, because I'm sure they knew exactly what they were doing, but they did it without any concern for the inflation. So it never accounted for that. So that the actual value of that limit for which they have to report on transactions keeps getting lower and lower and lower. It was originally kind of like an anti-money laundering and kind of to be used against the mob to figure out where the money was being transferred for some of the larger operations that they were doing. But as that limit has gotten lower and lower, it very much starts to impact regular normal transactions to the point where now it's just a spying tool.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And it's basically them saying, well, little children, we'll just give you a little bit of money to play with because, but you're going to have to jump through all of our hoops. And quite honestly, we had a point in time where we had a bank that literally took an amount of money, and it was a large amount, out of one of our accounts. And it was kind of one of those epic things. Of course, I mean, I can tell a personal story on this that's just kind of crazy. We were in the middle of a job, and we had a line of credit that we were playing with, and the bank, that was playing with. We use that to like fund the jobs and that sort of thing, and it works really, really well. It's a revolving line of credit. Basically, they went into our account as soon as we received payment, and they took all of that and they put it on to pay down the line of credit instead of leaving it there without anybody's permission. Now, they shouldn't have done that. That wasn't theirs to just take and apply it wherever they wanted to. And it took down our available capital, which we were planning on using. It's like just saying, well, you've got this money in your bank account, and we just really want to get rid of this loan over there, which we agreed to. So we're just going to take the money in your account and pay off, let's just say your mortgage or whatever. That's in essence what they did. And so it was kind of an interesting meeting we had after that. And I was quiet, man. When I get quiet, believe me, that's never a good moment. And so bank president was there, the corporate, the bank manager was there, the bank president was there, and several people, and everybody else was there from our team, their CEO, or not our CEO, our CFO, and project managers and attorney and that sort of thing. We were all there. And so I'm just sitting there being the CEO I am, not really saying a whole lot, just kind of listening to this and piecing this together, right? And all of a sudden we get to the end of the meeting and they had come to an agreement, and I've said nothing. And I just looked at them both and I said, I want you to look in my eyes and shake my hands that you're going to be good for your word. Everybody's like dead quiet at the table because they all reached an agreement, right? And he's like, well, of course we are. He said, we're a bank. And I said, yes, but you didn't keep your word. So why should I trust you now? And he leaned over and he was like, falling all over himself, right? And I just said, just so you know, if you're planning on trying to take us down, I will kick this thing into 2 million pieces, and you're going to be looking for change around the corner, because if you do it again and try to, screw us up, then guaranteed, I'll make sure that there's some blowback that's going to reach you, and it's not going to be good for this bank. So walked out of there. It was like you could have dropped a pin in the room, and he was falling all over himself. We walked out, and everybody on our team was like, oh my gosh, that was like the most stressful moment ever. And I'm like, well, you know what? FAFO, some of us will hold you accountable, because, if you're gonna wreck shit, then we're gonna wreck it before you wreck it, so we can be in control of the burn. That's my attitude.
There's a little House on the Prairie episode like that, where it ended. They blew up the whole town with dynamite.
Kind of like the movie Vendetta. I actually really like that movie. It's like, okay, you guys think you're going to take this down. Guess what? I think we should just do it first, and then we're in control of it a little bit. So yeah, it was a.
So this is funny because I didn't know what we were going to talk about this morning, and the first thing I posted this morning was a question. Has anybody heard what happened with the storyline of, is our gold down in there? Are we going to open it up and find out if the gold is there? And that storyline has vanished. Nobody's asking about it. It's like it's just vanished in thin air. Nobody's talking about it, and I wonder why.
Because the narrative's being controlled on both sides. I hope people have gotten this figured out, that they're still controlling the narrative, and I'm really, really positive on what's happened with Doge and the USAID scam. There's another scam demic, right? The USAID scam, but they were funding a lot of the alternative media that people believe in and trust. And so you really have to question everything, even even the trusted news sources. I mean, Gateway Pundit, lied their ever living tail off when I was running, and so they were. And I like some of the stuff they put out, but there's definitely a spin going on to a lot of it.
Yeah. And so, like with what happened with you with that bank, the bank was in control of that money and just moved it wherever they wanted to, right? So
yeah, they just grabbed what was in the company account, and they applied it without anybody's because when you're managing money, when you're managing things, you expect to have a certain amount of money. So we had this much in the account, the company account. And then we had this revolving line of credit so that we could kind of maximize what we had. Well, by them taking money out of the account, it really kind of screwed us up, because it it's in a bank just doesn't have the right to do that. They literally went in the account and they took money that was ours and they applied it against a loan, which we had we had an agreement on it, and they weren't supposed to do that. And so it really screwed us up for the job for a little while, until I basically told them, I'm like, I hate to say it, but I can say that F word right now, and you F with me, and I'll break this thing into 2 million pieces. Good luck with that.
Well, now imagine, though, if an adversary with enough computing power could do that for everyone's accounts on Bitcoin unilaterally by voting themselves as the authority on it, and you have no legal agreement, you have no legal recourse, you have
may
no
not
control.
even know who they are. I mean, I was sitting in front of a bank that did that.
Yep.
And so, it's like sitting in front of a bank that took real cash assets, and it was a lot. It wasn't like it was $100. Okay. It wasn't like it was $10,000. It was a lot of money. And they just basically said, oh, okay, guess what? We're going to move it over here. Now you don't have anything. That's exactly what could happen in crypto. And you're never going to face your adversary. You won't know who it is. You can't find him. And there's no recourse.
It could be the NSA. It could be China. China has enormous computing power. And so, I mean, think about that. If one single entity, or even two entities cooperating with each other, like let's say the NSA and GCHQ, if they wanted to get on there and vote themselves as the majority to be able to do a transfer, not only is it, the bank may not have had any legal authority to do that, but in this case, they would have both the technical authority as well as, it would be a perfectly legitimate transfer according to the way that the protocol works. It would be seen, because the protocol itself is pretty much agnostic to the country or person or whatever that's doing it. There's nothing stopping them. They could very easily do that. And that leads into that's another one of the problems that you have with Tor. Tor is Tor is all kinds of, it's perfect anonymity. It's like a VPN, but it's better because there's no central authority on it and all that. But Tor was developed by the U.S. government. It was, I think, the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, and then it got a massive amount of DoD funding initially when it was first developed. And the justification for that was that, well, now we can get information into and out of hostile countries that don't have free speech and free exchange of information with countries outside, like China. Basically a way to circumvent Chinese firewalls. Okay, that's a decent goal. However, it's still developed by the U.S. government. And I should say it was. Nowadays, it's managed a little differently. However, the original technology is still there. And number one, do you think they would have deployed something like that without already knowing how to break it?
Mm-hmm. It's just like with all the vaccines and all the other stuff. They basically have antidotes for it. I had a guy tell me that one time, that in these facilities, they always have a way out for themselves and or a way in to everything.
Yeah. And so the way the Tor works is that it basically bounces your traffic encrypted through 3 nodes before it gets to the end. And there's kind of like a hard-coded limit there because they don't want you bouncing it through, like, say, 100 nodes and using up everybody's internet capacity along the way. So you got 3 bounces, basically. And so what happens if, say, a large intelligence agency spins up a number of nodes on there that's 1/3 of the capacity of the network? What if one entity owns 1/3 of those nodes? Well, there's a pretty good chance that every packet that you send through there is going to hop through one of their nodes before it gets out. And if they're the exit node, they'll get a full unencrypted copy of whatever you're trying to send through it, which if you're using like SSL, yeah, it's still encrypted. There's vulnerabilities there too. So if they're an exit node, they have that traffic. Even if they're an intermediate node, they have a lot of information and metadata about how that traffic got to them and where it's going. And so by usually the estimate that I've seen is that you can de-anonymize just about anyone on Tor if you own or control about 1/3 of the nodes. So you have exactly the same weakness to Tor with a big data center like the one that the NSA built in Utah. That as long as you have one adversary with an enormous technical capability, they have the ability to break Tor. Now,
and they've got it all. I mean, they've got, when you start adding in some of the things that they are in cahoots with, like the military industrial complex, to break this, it would be like, it's like swatting a mosquito,
Yeah.
It's like, really? But people believe that this is a bomb-proof way and that it's, grassroots. Anytime that word grassroots come out, people, the angels start singing, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yep. And there is still value to Tor. I won't take that away from it, in that it insulates your connection against your internet provider spying on it directly, for one. And for another, there is some protection in that whatever you do on there, it is not very likely that the NSA would put out there that they figured out something that you did on Tor using Tor because they could break it. They wouldn't put that out there unless it was incredibly significant that they do so, that they know how to crack Tor. They're going to keep that secret as long as they possibly can. And I mean, it's like if you were to, in a card game, there's no reason you would play an ace when someone else plays a 2, right? So there's some protection there in that they pretty much have to do parallel construction on anything that they discover using that. Which adds a bit of an barrier of entry of them doing anything with it. Additionally, there's some major benefits to free speech using it, just because it is, although it's easier to spy on, it's very difficult to censor without being caught. And so that there's a huge benefit to that.
So yeah, we are on Tor also. So I mean, we're not bashing something that we actually do understand, because you got to use the tools at your disposal.
Yeah,
so,
no, it's a great technology.
I'm not totally upset about the crypto, but I'm saying don't bet the farm on it either. It's like diversification is always the best thing to do in any type of investment, or in anything that we do. A little bit of diversification is the hedge against the theft and corruption that we see out there.
Well said. And in that way, Tor, there's a lot of benefits to Tor, but don't think it makes you invulnerable.
Right. I remember, and that principle goes with everything. If you're going to put all your eggs in one basket and one thing goes away or goes down, you're pretty much screwed, right? So like the guy that really was the best at this was my dad, right? He had like 4 different heating systems in his house. My dad was a true survivalist, right? So he had, if any one of those went down, he could heat the house by a different method, which I thought was, at the time when I was younger, I thought, man, like that's kind of crazy, right? But now it's like, wow, I'm kind of crazy now, because I understand why it actually works. But it's not just in heating your house, it's your food supply. It is, if you have animals like we all do, if you have chickens, right? You're going to want to think of what happens if you can't get chicken feed for whatever reason. If the electrical grid goes down, what are you going to do? What's your backup plan? What are the assets you have in hand that you can use in the event of catastrophic failure or a breakdown in the supply chain, like what happened with the toilet paper nonsense years ago. What are you going to do if something happens? And how are you going to be prepared? How are you going to hedge against it?
Well, I'm going to put this out there too, that the phrase diversity is our strength kind of gets demonized a lot by certain people anymore. But there is some truth to it if you look at it as actual diversity. So there's a difference between the diversity that's being pushed right now, which is basically trying to make all cultures all over the world homogeneous and the same. That's anti-diversity. But just like crops, if you have a diversity in your crops where you have a good example of this, bananas. Okay, we used to have a crop. Naturally, the way that bananas grow, there's a whole bunch of different varieties of bananas in the wild. But the problem is that they all have large amounts of seeds or are generally unpalatable as fruit. So they grew a variety of bananas that was seedless and grew really well. And they sold that for a very long time, that one breed. The problem is that it's infertile, so you have to propagate it by cloning because, again, no seeds, right? So you have to do it by like grafting, that kind of thing. So they're effectively, all of the plants are exactly the same genetically. There is no diversity in them whatsoever. And so when I think it's like banana blight or something like that started getting into the banana plantations, there was really no way to stop it. The entire banana population pretty much collapsed because there was no genetic diversity. And that's where you get the song, Yes, We Have No Bananas. That really is, that song was about the population collapse of the Gros Michel banana. And that led to the development of the Cavendish banana that we have now, that is, again, it's genetically identical across them. And so now we're running into the same kind of problem of that banana blight has started to mutate and is now starting to attack the Cavendish bananas. And so we have the same problem. And that goes back to
for like the Hass avocado. That is one. The Hass avocado comes from one plant in a guy's yard. And his last name was Hass. Yep. We have 52 different types of avocados, but the Hass avocado is a plant, and they just clone it.
Yep, and that's actually also true of a lot of the apple varieties too.
Mm-hmm.
In that a lot of them are done by grafting because apples don't grow true to type. The advantage of apples is that we do have multiple different varieties of apples, and there is a fair amount of genetic diversity in apples, just kind of in the wild. So if something attacked, let's say something figured out how to take down all of the red delicious apples, well, okay, not a huge loss. We can figure out how to recreate something similar to a red delicious apple. But that's where the diversity is our strength thing falls down in modern use, but is really very much true if you go back to actual diversity. If you have a diversity in your crops, if you're growing stuff in a garden, you've got all different types of vegetables you're growing. Well, what happens if something takes down the potatoes? Okay, you've got a diversity of other varieties of things that you can eat in your garden. It's not the end of the world. And it's modern use of diversity is our strength, is all about trying to smush everyone together into being exactly the same, and worldwide even being exactly the same.
Call it diversity, but it's the antithesis of such.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want everybody being celebrating everything the same way, and if you don't, then you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a misogynist, you're this, that, and the other thing. It's like, no, and then if you do, for a while there, wasn't it, you couldn't even dress up in costumes like we did when we were kids, man. We were all dressing up as anything we wanted to be just because, and it's not a dishonor. It's actually more of an honor. I see it. It's like
celebration of differences.
Yeah, it really is, which is okay. You know, it's okay to do that, but doesn't mean that you put one on a pedestal. It's just fun to see different things. So what say you, Karen? You've listened to a lot of different things going in different directions. Our little morning squid went on. I want to, one thing before we leave this topic, Denise came on and said, we're playing in Babylon. We're giving our consent to all the thievery and deceptions. Go to AmericansInAction.info. So I'll bring that up a minute. And we got several different things. Denise always says, I keep getting kicked off because of the truth. Silver and gold in the Bible wasn't just a suggestion. Until we step out of this system, we will never be free. Absolutely. The tools are our demise. We need to stop accepting this fake system. Agreed? Agreed. So here you go. There's her site.
So one question I have, I see a lot of the more and more, I've been repeating the term narrative and story or storyline. I'm starting to also use the word bridge. There are a lot of things that happen that I think are one thing leads to the next. It offers itself as a bridge to another disclosure or an education of some sort. And I'm wondering if the Bitcoin and the crypto and all those things, they're not necessarily permanent, but are they a bridge to disclosure and information in our country? I highly suspect that it's just a matter of time, you know, that everything seems to go in a step-by-step process. Certain things have to happen before other things can happen. For example, with Doge and the U.S. aid disclosure, it's also a drop in funding for the cabal. And there's a lot of things going on with just that topic alone. Doge is one thing. U.S. aid is a whole other thing. What does U.S. aid lead to? Well, like I said, it defunds the cabal. But it also leads in 1,000 other directions because of the disclosure and the education that comes with it. And what is the most important? It's like the JFK question. What is being disclosed in the documents is not who killed JFK. It's almost who didn't kill JFK. How far does the reach go? That is the lesson. It's if you're focusing on what bullet hit him in what way to kill him on that day, you're missing the whole point. How far did that go? The corruption went so far, the tentacles expanding into the current generation. And that is the point of that whole story. I posted, several days ago with that story. JFK was trying to do what Trump is trying to do now, but he was alone. And so when they killed him, it squashed the effort. The effort still remained, but it had to be hidden for a time so it could survive. But what he was trying to do was disclose and educate. And now through Trump and through the disclosure in the JFK files, JFK's real purpose for our country is happening. It's like in his name, in his honor, we are finally seeing his legacy. It wasn't all about how he died. It was what was he trying to do? And by golly, it's happening now. And I feel like it's kind of cool to see that coming full circle. It's like, you did it, JFK. And if nothing else, then it happened through the way you died, because people are curious about it. When people really want to know the answer about something, It's going to be a bridge to something much more important. And in that case, it's this corruption is so far and so vast and so deep. You got to dig it out, and you got to really want to find it. And so with USAID, it's like, oh, yay, they're defunding things. We're saving money. Oh, it goes far deeper than that. I'm waiting for the day that it leads to Gretchen Whitmer, for example, because you're going to start to see where those money tendrils come into farther and farther and farther reaches over the country. And we already know enough to get Gretchen. We really, really want to, but we don't have the tools because the system is so corrupt. So you have to have this step-by-step process to chop it down. Well, defunding the cabal is part of it. So that's where I get that step-by-step and seeing the bridges and
well, think about this, okay? I think that a lot of us fall into a trap that we think, oh, now we've got the truth. We know what's happening.
Yeah.
No, we don't. If we knew the truth, it would all be out in the open. And I got to tell you, I've had a few discussions lately that I think that it's highly unlikely that all the truth is going to come out, because I don't think people could handle it. I really don't think that people could handle all of it. Some people may be able to handle all of it. I would be the first one in line if they would, spill it. I want to know absolutely everything, no matter how it is, no matter what it is. I would rather know the truth than be in the dark, because you got what you got. You might as well assess it and do a thorough assessment than to just get a half truth and feel good about it. So I think that that's the other thing that needs to be discussed, is that no matter how awake anybody thinks they are, it's going to be imperative that we stop and say, you know what, this is kind of what I know now. I'm going to expect that other things are going to come out. That doesn't mean I'm stupid or that I didn't know. You just don't know what you know until you know it.
Yeah,
and
be okay with that.
And be okay with not having to be the go-to person, the guard dog of all wisdom and knowledge and that sort of thing. No, we're all a bunch of little kids here running around trying to figure out what the heck have they done. And it's going to continue to get more brutal. Probably the truth is going to get more brutal every layer we go down. Now, I do believe that most of the things that they've put in the movies, that there's a lot of truth in those movies, because it's a death cult. They have to tell us according to their weird, warped way of doing business, that they kind of have to tell us, Satanists do, because in their own little warped mind, that absolves them of guilt. So they have to tell us what they're doing. And as long as we don't say, hell no, they take that as consent. That's their religion. That is absolutely their religion. And that's as I understand it. Now, there may be some more information that could come forward and say, okay, I had this much knowledge on it when there's that much knowledge on it that's going to come out later. But to steel ourselves a little bit against feeling like we have this figured out, I think is going to be very, very important, especially in the coming days. Because as I had a friend tell me, no matter what you think, take the worst case scenario that you can possibly think of as happening and multiply it times 1,000. And we might be getting closer to the reality. What happens if everything around us is still being obfuscated the truth? Still. And we're getting to it. What happens if the people that actually know the truth are trying to save us from hard realities that very few people are going to be able to handle? Then
I think they're saving us from a lot of things.
I do too.
And Karen, to your point about JFK, you can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea.
Yeah. And
Yes.
this education that we're getting along the way is, I think, one of the most vital things. Now, Donna was saying about having all the information. Well, did Solomon feel really happy about it when he got all the information? he was kind of an unhappy man for at least a while there, and it's not going to make you happy to know everything. There are sometimes Don and I have had conversations about this. Like, there are some things that I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I want to see that frazzle drip video. Like, I know it exists. I've heard descriptions about it. That's enough for me. I'm satisfied. I don't have to know everything, because maybe I personally can't handle that. And I'm okay with that. And that's a healthy thing. But do I need to know that that corruption and crime exists, and it always will? Yeah. And if I had kids, I want them to understand that too. And I think that's what we're going through. It's not just what has happened in the past and what is happening now. Is the effort going to continue? Is evil going to exist in this nation, in the world? And until Jesus comes, yeah, comes back, I should say, and ends it all. Yeah, it's gonna be here. We're gonna have more corruption in our country. But through this education, if we see it and are thoroughly convinced and dedicated to recognizing it, and enough of us, because not everybody is capable or willing, if enough Americans are willing to recognize it, comprehend it, and fight it, they will pass that on to their children and their children's children. And that will continue to be some kind of protection for future generations. This could very well happen again. Nothing is new under the sun. Mm-hmm. But this is the greatest time in our nation's history, because it's the greatest disclosure in education ever in our history. For generations, this stuff has been hidden. And we've just been la-di-da, thinking, oh, our country is the best in the world. They allowed us to think that. They wanted us to think that and get really cozy while they slowly turned up the temperature of the water.
They programmed us.
Yeah.
They wanted us to be asleep. And because you can manipulate people who are in, for lack of a better word, kind of a trance, because it's like the same message over and over and over and over and over again. You know, it started out with there is no God, and you know, that sort of thing that they had over and over and over said to people. And then, you know, and then this is okay, or that's okay, no prayer in school, all of this stuff. And all of a sudden a lot of people stopped questioning it. How are we going to, honestly, how many people do you know personally who really don't believe there's a God? And how many people that say they believe in God actually do? Or is it just the rules he puts down? Or is he a person? You know, I mean, all of these things are questions we have to ask. And Jesus said about it, get the plank out of your own eye. This is going to be the struggle until evil is destroyed, because we are fallen. And it's only because of God Almighty that we will, in fact, be able to stand on the worst day, because he will pick us up and carry us. We're weak. We human beings are weak. We have failings in us. Now, when we walk with God, the closer we walk with God, the more ability we have to stand, because we kind of go away and he kind of, Jesus take the wheel. You know, that's the statement that quite often we make, you know, Jesus take the wheel, because it's like, I have no idea where this train is going. It's completely off the rails, right? And I think that's an important thing, to be okay with the fact that you are human. We are human beings. We are not God. He knows we're not going to be perfect. We're like little kids that have to get up and stand again and try to get it right we're practicing, and we're learning to be more like him. And I think that's so important. There's a lot of people out there that have truly bought into evil. They're not even like they're alive. It's all about worshiping the money. They worship that. They have to have this material world as their God. The closer we get to God, the more that fades away, and we're just okay with being his children and doing, okay, all right, Dad, what you want us to do today? What's on the agenda? And laying down our lives and the things that we thought we wanted and handing it over and saying, well, at one time I wanted that, but as I've matured in the Lord, you don't have those same things that you find important. And then the focus is on just being a servant and taking care of other people and taking care of his world, and this spiritual war we're in it's real, but the introspection of righting the evils has to happen where we really inspect our own hearts and our minds and our motivations.
Mm-hmm.
All said.
And I think that until Jesus comes back, we're and until God sets his foot right on the planet here in real terms, we're here walking with him. If we choose to, we can walk with him. I think some of us have actually seen things that most people would think are impossible or don't actually exist or happen, but it's possible. If it happened in the Bible, it can happen now. And so, God is bigger than our preconceived notions or even our worship of knowledge. And if that knowledge changes, is it God's fault? Does our faith waver at that point in time? No, that breaks us of our faith in ourselves and our knowledge that we think we possess, and breaks us out of the limiting factor, which is ourselves, every single time.
I do find it kind of amusing that with the how modern science has basically circled back around to biblical principles in certain ways, in that with the multi-dimensional universe ideas and the simulated universe ideas, comes right back to a lot of the same principles of justifying how God can exist without admitting that God exists. It's kind of amusing to see.
I think God laughs at all of us. I think he's amused. It's like watching your puppies play. Once in a while, they pee on the floor. You still love them, right? And hopefully they'll be trained someday, and so they can act like like an actual dog that has a brain. I'm sure he looks at us that way at times.
Yep. So I had a couple other Tor and Bitcoin things to think about. One of them is, I don't know how many people were real familiar with this because it was fairly early on in a lot of this, but there was a site called the Silk Road that was on, this was the big dark web thing that was on Tor, right? It was effectively more or less like an anonymous version of eBay. Where people could get on there and they could buy stuff from somewhere halfway across the world using Bitcoin, and it would be delivered to them.
Couldn't they buy anything on there? There was no.
Yep, there was no restrictions to it, so it got used for a lot of drugs and a lot of other bad things were bought and sold over the Silk Road, and so the FBI. After several years of this, the FBI made a big show of taking down the Silk Road and arresting Russ Ulbricht for being the one that ran it. And they went through this whole thing about how they caught him and how his OPSEC was not great. And so they caught him using not Tor and not using Bitcoin. They caught him using all of these other things he was involved in outside of this, where he was talking about being involved in something, and we kind of put it together based on all of these other clues. But It wasn't because of Tor or Bitcoin. Those were so secure we couldn't crack them. It was because of all of this other stuff.
Sounds like a CIA lie, doesn't it?
Yep. And I tend to think, I have my suspicions that I think Russ Ulbricht was actually, I'm not even sure he was a real person. I think he might have been a persona put on by the intelligence apparatus as someone to arrest and make a big show of, so that they could claim that these protocols are secure to try and get more people to use them for things so that they could catch them. I tend, basically the Silk Road was a honeypot is my theory, and that it was the intelligence apparatus was running the Silk Road all along just to try and collect information on the people that were on it. In a lot of cases, it was probably to develop blackmail on our politicians.
Mm.
I strongly suspect that. And then you look at back in January, President Trump pardoned Ross Ulbricht. Why?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he was involved in trafficking, you know, hundreds of millions to potentially billions, nobody really knows, of dollars worth of drugs all over the earth. Okay, so he was imprisoned for a few years and then he was pardoned. And you're saying this guy was the criminal mastermind that ran the drug trade of the earth for years. Something doesn't make sense here. So I tend to think that was, I tend to think it was not only to collect data about who was buying and selling stuff on the Silk Road, both for arrests, for blackmail, for all of that kind of stuff. I think a lot of it was also for the optics of showing the world that Bitcoin and Tor were actually effective ways of being anonymous online when they really aren't.
That is a real good point. Let's come back to this too, Ralph. With the amount of I was doing some research on something called audio code this week, and I've got files.
That's a real interesting one.
I have got so many files, and guess what? I think I've hinted to it. I'm going to put up another website because I used to write under several different pen names. Only this one's going to be right out there, okay? And I'm going to put some research that I do on there, and it's deep, and there's names, and there's all sorts of things going on with this. They can clone your voice by listening to you for 3 seconds. They can create any scenario for us to believe is real, like falling off a log here. It's easy. They do it in the movies. They're doing it in real life. How do we know any of this stuff we're seeing on TV or for the news or any of that, or on social media or otherwise? How do we know any of this is real? We're not there unless there's people there and there's multiple cameras or multiple people talking, and even that can be faked. There's a lot that can be faked. So if things don't end up the way we think they are, maybe we're just peeling back the veil, taking the mask away of what's really here.
So that's one of the reasons too why one of the things that I think that they were using the backscatter X-ray machines and now the millimeter wave scanners in the airports for is I think they were using that to get 3D models of all of the passengers that were going through there so that they have a comprehensive database of analysis of everyone that went through the airports. But B, I think they were also developing a method of, now you've got all of these scans of real people. It's real easy to computer generate crowd scenes of these, of actual real people using an actual real data set.
And the gates are incredibly accurate on how people walk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can do gait analysis from satellites. They proved that years ago. People's walking gait is very easily identifiable.
That master of disguise by the CIA that talks about it is if they would even put in like something in their shoe just to
yep, like a coin or something.
Anything. It can be something small, and it throws the AI off.
Yeah, well, that was even done back in the days of before AI analyzing stuff when it was just people, because the spies at the time even knew that as good as they were at faking something, they couldn't fake their gate all the time, and that spies of an adversary would even just be able to, by looking at them, tell by their gait who they were.
They can't do if you look at linguistics at all, they can't do an exact match. A person can't of another person's speech patterns either. So as we've talked before, and you brought this up quite a while ago about the rhotic R in President Trump's speech, you can tell if they've got a double in there. And if you don't believe there's doubles, then this is the first step of waking up, because they had doubles. They've always had doubles for presidents and for other people that have been positions of power. That is a normal security protocol for high risk individual or high value targets. That's what they do. And if you're paying attention, you'll get it figured out who's for real and who is not, and that's a good thing.
I have nicknames for him.
Yeah.
There's thumbs up Trump. There's golfing Trump. Yeah, thumbs up Trump. He's got a broad smile, and his neck will I can't describe it, but he has a certain way. And there's Rally Trump, which I think Rally Trump does most of the speaking. But
and he's shorter than real President Trump.
Yeah, I don't know. I know you've done more analysis on that. There are times where I notice, as you guys have talked about it, the speech. But I think it's gone so far with the doubles of the doubles and all that I don't even remember exactly. I don't know if I could recognize the real Trump if he came out, which is kind of sad. But
CGI Trump that gets younger and younger every time we see him.
Oh yeah, there's one. He's got really bright white teeth. His weight changes somehow. Different Trumps have different weights and heights. I want to know. The trouble with this, all this is, and Biden was fake anyway, right? He was not elected anyway. Nothing that he ever did was real, in a sense. And so you could set all that aside and go, well, okay, so he was his even the doubles were fake. Though even the original was fake. He was never president. I don't even know if he was vice president, technically. How can we trust the elections going back for I don't know how far? But what bothers me is I don't know if Trump is alive. Real President Trump. Trump is a figure of imagination. He's an ideal. He's a tool. Is he real though? I would like to know that there is an actual commander-in-chief who does have a real signature, who is I know that whatever is happening is Trumpish. There's a brilliancy, there's a sense of humor, and those things are Trump. But I don't know how you can get a double that can do Trump that well.
That reminds me, did you guys see
so many times because we're friends, right? Off camera, we have this discussion, and there's no way he's out on a golf course playing golf.
Yeah.
There's no chance, because somebody could pick him off, a sniper could, from a long ways away. I am not believing he's out in public. And I hope that he is safe. I really do. I hope that he is safe. I hope that, that he is somewhere fully protected, and great honor I would give him. But we don't know anything. We know nothing.
Yeah. And Karen, to your point about the signature, have you guys seen the auto signer machine that they used for Biden?
Autopen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen it in memes.
Yeah, it's rumored that that's been used for presidents going back quite a ways at this point.
Well, for Pete's sakes, you know what? I hate to say it, but how many people use just a rubber stamp with their signature? Poink, It's
Yep.
like there's ways to duplicate that. So who knows?
Yeah.
I want to read something else here that Denise said. God gave us water, air, land, animals, plants, etc. Why are we paying for water? Why are we paying for electricity when it's free? We are energy. We are God's creation. It was granted to us. This is a great point that I want to bring up before we leave this subject, is that as my 2022 governor protest that has continued on and is still in the process of being a protest, and perhaps maybe a future, we'll see. Quite honestly, I really think that this is a huge time to come to terms with the fact that this state is something that all of us, and I'm going to use the words you're going to spit at your computer when I say that, Karen, all of us citizens of Michigan own. We own Michigan. It is our asset. When do you own an asset that you have to pay for unless it's taxed by the government? You don't. You don't. If I have something sitting here and I, let's just say I own it. I can pick up a book or something. I'll pick up Sean's book. Let's just say I own this book, right? Ta-da. Now, why should I pay taxes on that book? Why should we pay taxes on something that we own at all? Why isn't it earning an income for all of us? If we're citizens here, I said it again, just for you, Michiganders, said it again, just to harass you. Why is it that this state is not earning an income for the citizens here? And I think it's possible. I really do. I think that if we had the right governor in place, a governor that knows how to run things like a state, like a company, it should be generating an income for us. And that's not happening because they basically claimed 4.6 million acres of our land. They're clear cutting our lumber and all of our mineral rights. We're looking all over the world. We've got everything we need right here. But why don't we have it? Because they're taking it from underneath our noses. And it's ours. It wasn't theirs to take. So I'm just going to throw this out here. It was the Republican Party that put Whitmer in place. For all of you out there that are claiming to be Republicans, and if you don't know this, your wake-up time is going to be brutal, and I am not going to let this lay. Betsy DeVos started Republicans for Whitmer after she defunded the candidates because they didn't want an actual candidate in. The establishment did not. And I kind of wonder who was holding the gun to Betsy DeVos's head to make this move happen, because it appears to me that they had to sell off a bunch of their company assets. So who's really running the game here? I don't have an answer for that exactly. I've got some suspicions of what happened there, but she started Republicans for Whitmer, and they were all the oligarchs who've been buying the elections for years. It was the Republicans, that put Whitmer in place. So if you have anything to complain about the Democrats, you better be ready to swallow that hard pill, because it was Republicans that tanked the only non-establishment candidate that was in the race, but also that handed their election to Whitmer. They were not on the Republican side. They are not going to be on the Republican side for the next election. So I suggest to everyone, we're going to end up getting Benson in as the governor because the rig is already in, unless there's a wild card or unless something unexpected happens. So I'm just going to say
a wild Donna.
I'm going to say right now is that we're going to have to think differently, because we are in a war. They own the infrastructure, or owned it. I would like to think, I believe that the good guys have control of it. However, it is also dependent on us not to sit back and go back to our regular lives, to start thinking and figuring out what's really going on here, and realizing that everything is riding on this, and it's riding on us changing, on us thinking things through, on us having a grip on the truth, not living in a Disneyland world. We've got to get off of the Disneyland mentality of, oh, yes, it's got an R in it. We're going to have to make sure that this is, that all of our values stand because this is what they say, but it's not what they do. And you can't outspend them. They've got all the money. Look what they did in the last one. DeVos threw her shoulder against behind Republicans for Whitmer. You think they're not going to do this again? They're going to do it again. And so we're going to have to outperform them, and it's going to have to be really, really different. So
like
out there.
You look at Mitt Romney's voting record; it matched up almost exactly with Obama's.
Yeah, of course, it's a uniparty. Denise put something out there. Jason Ian is one person that links the Bible to God, to humanity versus the lawfare system we're currently participating in. And there's a video. Denise, it's hard for me to pull it off when I'm on, to pull the information off when I'm online. Could you please text that to me so I get it in my phone and then I'll put it up?
I can always tell who is not quite there yet when they're talking about things in terms of party. Who is celebrating the Democrat Party having struggles as if that is the thing. Like, okay, the Democrats are losing this or that, yay, the Democrat Party is being demolished, yay. And it's like, and so every time I post something about that, I'm sharing, now do GOP, now do GOP, now do Michigan, because if you're celebrating one party being destroyed or having a struggle, but you're not talking about the other one, their time coming, then you haven't yet come along yet. It's part of the awakening process. It's not that people are stupid. It's just that they haven't got to that point yet. It's just part of that disclosure and education process where people are ready to see who they think is the villain being taken down. They're not quite ready to see the other villains for who they are, but that's going to happen. That's what I'm saying about, I want to see the U.S. aid connecting to some of the GOP people. Okay,
we don't even need that. Honestly, it's like, this is like saying Republican good, Democrat bad, but guess what? The Republicans were already there and could have done something. They did nothing.
Yes.
They let that 2020 election, they let that thing go right down the tubes, and they could have fought it. Why didn't they? You ever notice something too? I notice this all the time. The people that are in the Republican Party and such, there's so much fear in these people. And I'm always like, what are they really afraid of? I've got a good hunch in what they're really afraid of. And that's going to be one of those realities that I'm not sure that everybody is going to be able to handle, because the world is different than what we've been told. Start watching movies, start reading books. What is the bottom of the barrel of what is possible? You'll find it in the movies, because they tell us what they're doing. Well, that opens up lots of possibilities, but they're afraid. They're afraid, and you can see the fear in their eyes.
Did you see the little clip of Maxine Waters? I think I shared it to your channel because I thought you would get a kick out of it.
Caricature anymore. You ever look at her? I'm like, oh my God.
In this one, she is suggesting that we should look deeper at Melania. Is she a legal immigrant and so on? And I mean, this rant that she went on, and who's that other representative who went on a rant? Just, I mean, it was vulgar, but she was picking on the governor who's in a wheelchair. She called him Hot Wheels.
Oh, probably Madison Cawthorn.
And so the public, of course, and the media are all over this. And she said, well, I was just talking about his positions that he has. He's a mess, she called him too. And so people did some digging. No, she was calling him Hot Wheels a year before all of that. So she's got no defense, and it just every day, it's like every few hours you'll see something else, and it's like it just keeps getting worse and worse. And this is where I called them the screaming bobcat like a year or two ago. The screaming bobcat is this person that's desperate because they know that hunter's coming and they're trapped and there's nothing they could do but flail around and scream. And that's exactly what they're doing sometimes. And you just look at them like with your jaw dropped, like, I don't know who you are, what's happening, but this is pretty ridiculous. It's entertaining to me. That's the thing, where if you're sitting where we are and you know that things are headed in the right direction, even when they seem crazy, then you can be entertained by it. And it's like these people are a living meme, and you can sit back and just kind of laugh and go, thanks to the good guys for bringing us our daily entertainment.
Yeah.
I think too, humor is a great way of coping with bad situations. Like I've got a few jokes about the cancer that I had years ago that are probably not something I would want to put out here right now, but when I tell them in person, it's like one of those things that for just a second it makes people a little uncomfortable that you're joking about it, and then they think, oh wait, but he's the one that's joking about it, I guess it's okay to laugh at that. And a lot of times that humor is it's a really good and healthy way to cope with a bad situation.
Yeah, first responders are really good at that. People don't understand them unless you're one of them. And I've been in that community, and it's unique because you can look at a terrible, horrible, nasty, people are dying or sick or injured kind of situations and still laugh about it. And that's one of the reasons why those same people try really hard usually to stay off camera, because you don't want to be laughing together about something and be caught on camera. Doesn't always go so well over in the media.
Yeah. Here, this is something that Denise posted. Let me see if I can enable this.
Hello, and welcome to
Courtney.
another episode of The Dangerous Dames, where we talk about all the dangerous truth that you won't hear on the mainstream media. And I am Courtney Turner. I'm the host of the Courtney Turner podcast. And with me today is my very dangerous co-host, Dr. Lee Merritt. She was once an orthopedic surgeon, and she is now a medical rebel. And today we have a dangerous dude with us, Jason Ian. So, Dr. Lee, how are you doing today?
Great. Yeah, I'm excited. Jason Ian is from Americans in Action, and I've met them. I don't remember how I met them. It seems like I've known them forever. But
cool. So I'll have to call Courtney. That's awesome. It's been a while since I've had her on here. It was before she got married last fall. So I'll have to call her and see if she wants to come on again, and that'll be cool. So Jason Ian, it should be interesting. I want to listen to that. So
something else that kind of ties into all of this too.
Yeah.
The Tor, the Bitcoin, and USAID is how much data can be figured out using metadata. And metadata is like information about information about the connections between things. Not like when they were trying to justify all the wiretapping years ago, they were saying, oh, but we only collect the metadata. We collect who's calling who and how long they were on the phone and that sort of thing, but we don't actually listen to the content of the calls.
Right.
Yeah. Well, even just with the metadata, and this is true of pretty much any system out there, there's a huge amount of intelligence that you can gain from that, to the point where there was an article written back in 2013 about how just by knowing the different groups in the American colonies and just a few of the connections between the groups, how you could find Paul Revere. Without knowing who he was, without knowing what he was involved in, really, just using the metadata on the people around him, you could track him down. And that's using modern techniques on an old data set. But it was something that would have been perfectly possible to do just using pen and paper at the time. And so now you've got all of these things like I said, if you can control a third of the Tor nodes, you've got a huge amount of metadata about who's using Tor, who is contacting which website, and how those websites connect together, how the people connect together, etc. Same thing with Bitcoin. You've got all the information about, even if the Bitcoin account is, relatively anonymous, you've got all the information about the different connections between all the different accounts. And same with USAID. You've got all the different funding sources now for all of these different programs and how they connect together, when the payments happened to different entities, how they happened. There's an incredible amount of information there. And if you want to know more about that, I posted a link to the private chat. It's pretty simple. It's a fairly quick read about realizing how important metadata actually is and how much data you're putting out there anytime you use one of these systems. And the same is true of credit cards and banks and all of it. I mean, it's true of a lot of it. And even with the serial numbers that they put on our current money, a lot of that gets scanned and recorded all over the place. They've got, even if you use cash, they can track it. And in a lot of ways, they can track it using this metadata information.
Well, and I think this is something that's important. Anytime you touch anything digital, it's recorded somewhere. Doesn't matter what it is. So don't automatically assume that you're off the grid, because you're not. Nobody is at this point in time. I want to read just something about that audio codes that I think is that I'm going to murder the names here. I'm going to should probably say unalive, because I know it's going to a couple places that censor, even though I don't. Anyhow, we're going to talk about this company. Audio Codes is a company that was founded in 1993 by Shapati, Aldersberg, and Leon Bialik. That isn't that the same last name of the gal that was on Big Bang Theory?
Bialik,
Bialik. Yeah. What was her first name?
Mayim.
There you go. So there's another name. I don't know if they're related or not, but it very well could be, because there's so many different connections between Hollywood and programming, as well as the things going on behind the scenes. Specializes in advanced communication software products and solutions for the digital workplace, focusing heavily on voice over IP technology. The company provides a wide range of products, including session border controllers, media gateways, IP phones, and multi-service business routers, as well as software solutions like call recording and voice network management tools. They cater to both enterprise and service providers, enabling all IP voice networks for unified communication, contact centers, and hosted business services. Audio Codes is particularly known for its work with Microsoft Teams, offering solutions like One Voice for Microsoft 365. This is some of the research that I'm going to be posting that I've kicked up that will go on the new site I'm going to spin up. And I think this is something that we all need to be aware of. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, like a few other people have said, and go after it's the Jews thing. Okay, we're done with that. But what we do know is that all the countries of our world have been infiltrated. And so when we say that a country or something is based somewhere, don't get stupid with me and call the ADL or something like that, because I'm not that kind of a person. But anyhow, its headquarters in Lod, LOD, Israel, with its international base, or Yehuda Audio Codes, also has significant presence in the USA, Piscataway, New Jersey. And yes, we're not against people from New Jersey, and operates globally with offices across Europe, Asia, and beyond. So there, I've hit everyone now. Now I'm on South Park. I've gone after everyone. It's publicly traded on NASDAQ, AUDC, and Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Over 60 of the world's top 100 service providers like AT&T, Verizon, and Telefonica use their technology. As of recent estimates, they employ around 1,300 people and generate significant revenue, with figures from the late 2024 suggesting around $750 million annually. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is the tip of the iceberg, and I think what I'm going to do is just start dumping these things into a blog site. But when I get down, it starts actually, I got to the point where it's naming people who are on this team. But just so you know, this is fairly brutal, quite honestly, when you see the connections. And we go right back to what Vicki Davis and I talk about, of this being an economic takeover of our nation. If we don't get our heads out of this worshiping this world, we are going to lose this, because the takeover of our nation and our world has been an economic takeover. It's an economic tyranny. It's the same thing that the Dutch East India. Okay, now we'll throw the Dutch in. Everybody get your wooden shoes out, right? And so, and let's all feel sorry for ourselves for whatever labels they've given us next. And it's like, this is what the Dutch East India Trading Company was basically doing, was controlling the economics of the world and the resources. They're after the resources. And I don't give a crap what title or what gender or what race they say they are. This is an infiltration of a godless group of people who have taken the identities that we've given ourselves, instead of saying we're human beings, and have used it against us. And so when I launch this, I think everybody's going to find it's going to be very interesting. And we have to get away from this identity crap. So here we go.
I don't know. Sounds to me like you're very clearly a New Jersey-phobe.
I'm a New Jersey. Right? Yes. Yes.
No,
How
but
about that? Let's make it local. Let's just say I'm a xenophobe, right?
He's a Michiganian phobe.
Let's see. I'm a Fremont-phobe. How's that? Maybe I'm a Mackinac Island-phobe. No, I'm not.
Oh, no, you wouldn't say that about Fremont. That's where you get those Maple Island twists from.
Man. Yeah, when you go up to Fremont, go to the Amish store. And no, I'm not an Amish-phobe either, okay? Or a dog-phobe, a cat-phobe, or anything-phobe, okay? And you got to take things for what they are. Is good or evil. I'm going to tell you right now, if you get up there to that Amish store, get the maple things. I don't even know what they're called.
They're called Maple Twist.
Maple Twist. Okay, now you got the real name. Go get a Maple Twist and tell me if this is not like one of the greatest things you've ever eaten in your life.
I'm planning on going there tomorrow.
And she's leaving me out again. This is so
I'm not leaving you out. This is an open invitation. You can come up and meet me, or I can bring some to you.
Oh, now
you just have to make an order.
Now you're really evil, because I'm trying to fight the Fluffy right now, and I'm losing the battle a little bit. So I gotta work on this a little bit. They
have a lemon bomb. We call it a lemon bomb in my household. It's this slab of pastry. It's bigger than the usual, like, Boston cream or what do they call Long John? It's like a Long John, but it's 2 pieces of pastry that are broader than that and at least as long. And they swathe this pastry cream on one side, and they heap on this wonderful lemon cream on the other side, and they gently squish them together, and then they put a little powdered sugar on it, and they put it in the same place where those maple twists are. I want to call them Maple Island twists there because of the road nearby, but one bite will do my husband in. He's like, oh.
Start getting like
I have eaten it in one day, but
yeah,
it might take 2 days.
Yeah, this is like sugar coma material. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I literally, the last time I was up there, I was like, oh my God, this stuff is so good. I ate the whole thing. I literally ate the entire maple twist, and I had no regrets. I'm like, no, this is one of those things you just do and say, I have absolutely no regrets over this. I will tomorrow when I look at the scale, but right now, no regrets, right? So, Anyhow,
They
well,
have
guys,
lots of other good things there too, by the way. And they have a deli. They can make you a sandwich or a wrap, which I like, or a salad. And they make breads and
natural
cookies and
stuff.
pies. They don't make Donna pies, but they do make a standard pie. You know exactly what you're expecting because they make a lot of them.
Yeah, I arguably make enough or make the best pies on the planet. I claim that for myself, right? There's my bragging rights.
She's not conceding anybody else.
I will not concede to the Amish. I'm not an Amishophobe. There you go. New Jerseyophobe, Jewophobe, Arabophobe, whatever the hell it is. I'm so done with this. I'm so done with this nonsense. So somebody asked me, I met with a lady that was Jewish this week when I was down in Florida, and it was fun. I love her to pieces. And she's like, "Oh, like, are you an evangelist?" And I'm like, "No." Not
Yes.
it's like no, I'm not in the like Kenneth Copeland drinking blood.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh man, I'm like, talk about off the rails. It's like I posted that video. He cut his hand with another crazy evangelist person.
Oh yeah.
Put it in a cup and drank it. He all of a sudden gets looking like something that crawled out of the depths of hell. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not a Jim Baker. I'm not into this I don't know, this craziness. And it's like so much of what we see is so apostate. And even the Christian church in general, look at how much of it is about money, getting the butts in the seat, having the programs and such. When did they go to people's homes? I got to ask you, Jesus did. Jesus went to people's homes. He went and he took care of the flock. He wasn't just sitting in an office and trying to plunk, butts in the seat while the congregation is struggling. I have a real problem with this. And you can see it
when the teachers of the law did.
That's exactly what they did. And it's exactly what they did during COVID. So I'm an equal opportunity critic on every label out there. It's all a bunch of crap.
Yeah, you said, come on to me, but he went to them too.
Yeah, it's like you got to live it. You've got to live it, or you've just negated anything coming out of your mouth. It's like a politician. It's the industry. It's an industry. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but I digress. So I tell you what, guys, I have to get on to my day here because I'm planning an event that should be really fun. I'm not ready to put it out there yet because when I do, I'm going to be mobbed, and I mean mobbed by people that want to go to this, and I've got to start working on this a little bit more. So,
I want to go. I don't even know what it is, but
all right, right now I'm seeing hands on the chats, and here it's like pick me. So anyhow, I know Dr. David, he's going to be like, I'm there. I'm so there.
Donna's planning something. Whatever she's planning, I want to be there.
It's going to involve pies. That's what we do.
There you go.
There's the real reason.
Yeah, there you go. Food and pies, because you got to feed people, or else the aunts and parents come back from the grave and say, "What is wrong with you? You weren't raised this way. You don't let people go hungry, right? You just failed the test." So anyhow, well, guys, let's say prayers today. And I would actually like to go around the room here with Ralph, Karen, and myself and say a prayer, especially for Bill and his family and everyone out there. Let's do that. I want to do this differently today. Can we do that?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. So let's do a progressive prayer, and we'll do Ralph, Karen, and myself. So let's go now.
Thank you, God, for bringing us together today, and thank you for Bill and Megan and their family. They're having some issues right now, and it's difficult for all of them right now. Please help heal their family and give them the strength that they need to continue on with taking care of themselves and others. Please just help and comfort them and give them great healing to be able to help them continue on and grow and continue on with being the body of Christ and doing what you call them to do.
Dear Lord, we thank you for all the care you've provided. You've blessed this family with this wonderful little boy, and they're going through a challenge right now. You know best what he needs, and we pray that you provide that and give them some peace and understanding that helps them. I know I don't have children, but I know that those who do, it's a real struggle when a child is so young that they don't understand what's happening to them, and you feel protective of them, and you are so protective of us, and you know what we need better than any doctor or parent. So I pray that you would help them with providing them what they need, bring them some peace, and bring Bill some strength to take care of the rest of the family while Mama's got that baby in hand at the hospital. And if they trade places, give them strength and an opportunity to rest, because this is going to be a very difficult time for their family. And maybe give them some other hands to pitch in so that that becomes a lighter work. You can share that yoke, that burden with them. And also, dear Lord, please be with my mom and my dad. And my mom's got some other decisions to make in the near future with her health. Pray that you watch over her and keep her safe, and ease any pains and discomfort that she has too. We thank you for providing for us so many ways, and we know that you're there, and that is a comfort for us alone. But please continue to do so.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for Karen and for Ralph and all the wonderful people out there. I'm going to say a special prayer today for Dr. David, and I would ask that you would give him healing for anything he's struggling with, and Jeannie, because we know that there's all sorts of things that are our concerns, and we ask for miraculous healing. We ask for miraculous healing for Bill and his little guy, and that the feeding tube would be taken out today, and that he would be restored to health. We know that you are the author of all healing, and that you are abundantly able to do all that we ask. We ask that you would chase any type of sickness away from that family, that precious, precious family with their children. Give a complete miraculous healing that would bring all honor and glory to you, that all eyes that would see it would say, this is truly a healing that came straight from the hand of God Almighty and healed them from any and all of those things that are a problem. We ask that you continue to bless Karen and give her the strength to take care of her mom and dad as they go through a difficult time right now, that you would guide them in every decision that they have to make. And once again, we pray for a miraculous healing that would bring honor and glory to you, that doesn't come from us, that doesn't come from our control of the situation, but that falls straight from your hand, the hand of God, our Father. And we pray this all in the name of Jesus Christ and by the blood of our Savior, Lord Jesus. We thank you so much for the opportunity of being able to come together here and knowing that you love us so much, and that you are taking care of everything, and that we can walk with you here, and that you made the way for us, that the veil was rent in two, and that we can come boldly into the throne of God and talk to you in a relationship with you. What a great gift that you've given us. We're not alone. You never leave us. You never forsake us. You have all the answers to all the problems in our lives. I ask that you would confuse the plans of the enemy in this nation, that people would have their eyes open, and that they would come to you realizing that there's healing, there's peace, there is provision. You're our banner, you're our strength, you're Jehovah Jireh. You are our provider, and we're thankful for you and for everything that falls from your hand towards us, your children, whom you adore. And you know what? We love you. The only way we know even how to love is because you loved us first. And Papa, every day we're learning to become more like you. And that's what we want. We're kids. We mess up a lot. We know that. But we're trying, and that's our goal, to be more like you, to do what it is that you ask us to do, and we ask that you would give us the feet to walk the path that lays ahead of us. We're not even asking for an easy path. We're just asking you for giving us the feet to walk that path that you're leading us down, because we know it's an adventure. First of all, things don't always go the way that we would choose for them to go, but you give us something better. You help us to learn, to grow up, to be able to stand for those things that are really worthwhile, to gain the gifts of the Spirit that we don't get when we're spoiled little kids running around going to vent to God. Here, God, I want this, I want that, I want that. That's not what we want. We want to be like you, and we want to have that relationship with you and walk with you, because you are our treasure. Our treasure is in heaven. It's with you. And we just thank you for this experience of being here. We ask that you would point out to us what you'd like us to do today and open our eyes to the reality that you are here, that you are talking to us, and that you're showing us exactly what you want us to do as we are your body. And thank you for being a good friend to us. We want to be a friend to you, and we love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
There we go, guys. That's it. Miracles on the way. Little Bill, he's healed. That's what it's going to be today. It's going to be a healing day. And, your mom, Karen, and Dr. David, and I know, Ralph, you've been struggling a little bit lately, and that's why you haven't been on. I should have brought you up. Yeah, add Ralph to the list there of prayers there. God, please. That would be important. So anyhow, to everybody that's out there, thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, you're not alone, and no matter what happens, it's just to field the ball that comes to you and say, it's going to be an interesting day today. Okay. It's not tragic, because God is with us every single step of the way. Not a tragedy. It's just a change. It's different, and nothing's too big for God. So we can go forward with peace as he gives us grace and mercy. So with that said, it's that time of the show, boys and girls, where we go do ding, 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 go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best not conceder who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I'd like to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this wearing cowboy boots, and we'll just see who wears them better. Me. So there you go. I'd even make him a fresh pie, like a berry apple pie. Those are like my favorite. So something like that. He would probably enjoy that. So anyhow, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. Opportunities abound to be excellent. American exceptionalism, God-given exceptionalism. So we're gonna do that today, and we're gonna change the world. Just because why? Because it's the right thing to do. So not sure if I'm going to be on tomorrow. I think I'm going to be taking tomorrow and Friday off again, because I have some really important things that are going to be fundamentally changing for the state of Michigan that I'm working on. So, but I'll for sure be on Monday. So have a great day. And if I decide to pop on, I'll let you know on my Telegram channel.